What's going on, guys? It's a Villaman here. So you're thinking of buying a new TV, and you may have even seen my OLED versus QLED picture comparison video. So now you're looking at getting an OLED TV. Well, first, congrats, but as someone who has reviewed a bunch of TVs over the last few years, I think there are a few things about OLEDs you should know before actually pulling the trigger. So stick around. Oh, hello again. So if you're new here, on this channel we review, demo, and compare the audio and video tech that entertains you, like 4K TV. So if you're into that, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and come along for the ride. Okay, so let's talk about all these things that I think are important for you as a future OLED TV buyer to know. The first thing is the origin of the OLED panels themselves. The OLED panels in every TV that is made today is manufactured and supplied by LG Display. Now that's a separate company from LG Electronics, which manufactures cell phones, TVs, and other consumer electronics. As a result of that, the panels that you'll find in the Sony OLEDs, LG OLEDs, Philips, Panasonic, and even the new Vizio OLEDs are all sourced from the same company. So the thing that will most differentiate their picture performance and characteristics is each manufacturer's proprietary picture processing, which affects everything from upscaling lower resolution content to input lag and gaming performance, including the technology that TV supports like G-Sync, FreeSync, VRR, and HDMI 2.1 as a feature set to things like motion handling and motion enhancement. That brings us to the second item on the list. Because of OLED's instant response time, it creates some potential motion issues. I'm talking specifically about judder, but that may not be an issue for everyone, and some people might not even notice it. Now, on a traditional LCD TV, if the response time is too slow, then it can lead to ghosting, but because of the perfect response time of the pixels on an OLED TV, then you can have the opposite problem, which is the appearance of judder. Let's put it this way: as an object transitions from one part of the screen to another, then the delay in the pixel response actually helps it to appear smoother to the viewer. But with an OLED, since it has an instant pixel response, then that transition doesn't really happen and it appears as judder. In a slow pixel response scenario, the old image would essentially take too long to disappear as the new image is created, which would lead to what looks like trails, which creates ghosting. I tell you that so you can understand why the pixel response of a TV is important in either scenario, whether it's really quick or really slow. But back to OLEDs, the extent of how noticeable judder is will also depend on the TV's processing. For example, on LG OLEDs, you can enable the de-judder setting, which will essentially blend the frames of object in motion so it can appear smoother. That unfortunately can have the side effect of creating the soap opera effect, which some people are even more sensitive to. So it's a balancing act. Some manufacturers do a better job of this, of course. Sony, for example, has some of the best picture processing around. Oh, and don't mistake input lag with response time, by the way. Input lag is the time it takes for the TV to process the signal it receives, while response time is how long it takes the pixels to transition from one state to another. Think of input lag as how long it takes to understand the command, and response time as how long it takes for you to act on said command. Quick, jump 2 feet in the air. I wonder how long your response time was for that. The next thing you need to know about as a potential OLED owner is one of the most popular topics that comes up once you mention OLEDs: burn-in. Now, LG has said in the past that OLED panels have an expected life of about 100,000 hours. This is up from the 30,000 hours target of the older models. Now, you may think that's a lot of time, and you'd be correct because it is. But if that truly was the case, and OLED panels really do have over 11 years of full 24-hour per day usage, then how does burn-in even happen? Curious, right? Well, what I think that 100,000 hours number represents is the idealist of ideal of scenarios where there is very varied content being displayed at lower luminance levels. So it's basically the TV cruising to the finish cartoonish, but in the real world, of course, things aren't so simple. They're not so ideal. OLED stands for Organic Light Emitting Diode, and the organic is the important part because it means that these diodes will degrade over time, and that degradation is caused by the usage. So having, say, a red static logo for a very prolonged amount of time, even if it's spread out over a while, will mean that those specific pixels will see more prolonged usage than the other pixels around them. And as a result, those pixels accumulate a buildup of what's called triplet excitons and charges, which is beyond my understanding, but my physicist friends out there could definitely better explain that. But essentially, they lead to a reduction in the brightness of the pixels over time. As the more said pixels are used, the more buildup occurs. So then a pattern after time would be retained and essentially burnt in. This isn't something that happens quickly by any means. I'm just explaining my understanding of what happens over time and how an OLED specifically would degrade over the years. Just note that all displays degrade over time, but that's how it happens in the case of an OLED specifically, and that's what could result in what appears as burn-in. But thankfully, that's something that can be avoided. First, and I don't need to say this to most of you watching this, but I'm sure there is someone out there who needs to hear it. Don't unplug your OLED TV after watching it. When the TV is powered off, it occasionally runs a pixel refresher routine for panel maintenance, so that's important to let the TV do. OLEDs also have a pixel shift feature which shifts the frame either horizontally or vertically, so the part of the image that each pixel is displaying changes. This is exaggerated for effect, by the way. Those are things that the TV does behind the scenes, but there are things that you shouldn't do, like pausing a Blu-ray and going away for an hour, for example, so that there's a static image on screen for a very prolonged period of time. That's a no-no. Typically, having static images on your screen like health bars or channel logos won't really be an issue because those images will vary over time as you use your TV. So they present very little risk of burn-in over time with normal usage. I still wouldn't really recommend an OLED TV as a computer monitor because there's just too many static images on screen for a very long time. I mean, I could talk about other things like how thin the panel of an OLED TV is, since the pixels are self-emissive and create their own light, so the panel doesn't need a backlight, but that's something that most of you already know, and if you didn't, then you can't say that anymore now, can you? Anyways, I hope you found this video informative, and let me know in the comments if you are planning to buy an OLED TV or if you've already bought one. If so, which one and what size? Also, check out the merch store if you like my t-shirt and want one for yourself to help support the channel so we can bring you more content like this. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it and subscribe if you haven't. Thanks for watching, and until next time, this has been your friendly neighborhood Villaman saying be safe and peace.